live. We're almost live. It's
I got it.
fire and brimstone.
You're streaming.
Fire and brimstone. Sorry.
Nice timing.
Okay,
Going
so
to
that's
be a
not today's
day.
show. Not today's show. Maybe next week. And above the sun, think tank for the human experience, establishing a culture of quantum synergistic relational trading and creating solution and answers for issues of the heart and the mind.
Nice
Welcome.
intro. Yeah.
Welcome. Today's the last show you'll ever need. We'll answer all the questions, solve all the problems, right now, right here. Good morning. Can you believe they allow us to broadcast to the world
I
Right?
know.
just like that? Say anything.
Kind of scary, huh?
Yeah, I think there's about a 10-second delay. There's a little longer delay on the
20
YouTube.
seconds.
Is it 20?
Well, yeah. I heard it was 20. So
I mean, we can't do anything about it. You know, there's no pause button. But that went well. All right, so
Yeah,
today's
that's-
topic is we'll pull the pen.
relationship versus, I don't know, what would you
Knowledge, understanding, truth. Like truth is a big topic today, right?
Right.
right?
A lot
Truth,
of
Yeah,
people
I
are
got
going
another
for
truth.
truth.
enlightenment, knowledge, wisdom.
All
Right.
good stuff. If I'm ordering a la carte, give me one of each, please. But
Right.
relationship and what that means.
And just the idea that, okay, so Eric and I begin our chat before we begin this chat. We were talking about what are they offering? All these beings out there that we are now have access to engage with and talk to. What are they offering us? You know, what's the true end result? What's the purpose of this interaction? And someone out there can tell me that there's someone else that does this. I don't see any other being offering relationship as the primary reason for engagement. Any other being for any other religion, belief system, aliens, angels, I don't know of any of them offering up relationship as the main course. And I think that's for me is the telltale sign. Because Yahweh is about, he has love, peace, joy, faithfulness, all these different fruits of the spirit that's part of the interaction. But for him, it's about the actual relationship. It's about having the connection with the one that created us, having the connection with the one that he's created. And the outflow of that relationship is wisdom, is understanding, is knowledge. But those are not the reasons for the connection. And comparatively to other beings, when they show up and they offer these things, what are they really offering? They're offering wisdom, enlightenment, power over corruption, right? If they're benevolent, if they're malevolent, what's the word?
Malevolent.
Malevolent, there you go.
Yeah, don't worship Maleficent.
They're
She's still
malevolent.
working out her junk.
Then they're asking for a trade in something that's destructive for your own life, for the gain of some power, right? And we obviously would say, no, we eschew those things. But what about the benevolent ones that show up, that offer understanding, power, unlocking the secrets of the cosmos to become better yous, become a better person, an enlightened person. Is that, what is that? At the end of the day, you finally get that. What do you really end up with? Is there a relationship at the end? That's not the focus, right? That's not generally the reason people go after that stuff. And Yahweh is always been about relationship. And I think people get lost in the weeds with all the other stuff. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know everything. I haven't met every being. But
Yeah.
thus far, I haven't met no one's presented anybody to me that comes in the same way that Yahweh comes. I want to know you, and I want to be connected with you, and that's what I'm offering. I'm offering me. And we see that through the history of Israel in the OT, right? I'm offering you me. You are receiving me. The world seeks after all this stuff, but I am your treasure. I am your wealth. Me. And even in the subset of Israel, he sets aside a group of people, calls them priests, gives them ropes, gives them charge, and says, I'm not giving you any of this other stuff. You get me. Right? And I'm sure there were a few like heads hung, like, dang it, why couldn't I be part of the tribe of Judah? They get all this land and all these places, and all we get is a handful of cities. Like, what? We get you? What kind of bargain is that? Like, and I think since then it's been that way. It's like Yahweh is saying, you get me. Like, oh, I love you. I'm so glad. Now, what about the $1 million? No. You get me.
Yeah.
As if it's like a participation award.
Yeah, wait, I didn't get that brochure. Wait a minute.
And so it feels like a participation award because we're watching all our neighbors get, boats and Lamborghinis and $5 million homes, and we're like, well, everybody gets some. I mean, I want some of that too. And it's like, no, you got me. Oh no, I know. I really appreciate having you, but what about all that?
Yeah.
And that's the struggle, because they don't
Really?
really understand what they're getting in the relationship. They don't
No,
really know the hidden treasure and the wealth there.
And I don't understand.
But that's the dichotomy, and that's the struggle. Because as long as we're struggling and tug of war, then everything else. So we get this relationship, like, oh, we have relationship with the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit leads us in all truth. And all right, now let's go out and find the world. Let's go find the world. Let's go find things. Let's get some more stuff. Let's get what was really our heart's desire, right? And so it's this tug of war of, I want to know you. At the same time, I want all this other stuff too.
Yeah.
And I think it's a false tug of war, because we don't truly understand what we got. When we got the relationship, we actually got all that stuff, but the avenue in which we get all that stuff actually is different than we think it should be. And
Yeah,
the
but
journey to
operate with a
relationship.
5-year-old in that arena. What are you gonna get?
Absolutely.
He doesn't have faith like a child. But
sorry about that.
a kid's not gonna get that. A kid's not gonna be able to grasp the, oh, well, you really get all that stuff. It's like, well, then where is it? Well, you get it. But that's more important. This intangible is more important. Man, it's a struggle. Okay, you know what? I resonate with that. I totally get that.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. And this is such a bold statement to make. What other religious system? I was like, all right, let me look at these other religions. Just a real quick cursory glance. Like Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shinto, Taoism, Voodoo, Sikhism, all this stuff. I don't think any of it has. I mean, even the Old Testament God, right? That we talked about before the live stream started, who's got a pretty rough rap. I mean, reputation, like destroying a couple cities. Oh yeah, destroyed the whole world. It killed everybody but one family, kicked Adam and Eve out the garden, scary mountaintop fiery bush stuff. And yeah, that's hard to reconcile. A lot of us have daddy issues. That sounds like a daddy issue in a box, man. But throughout all of it, the weirdness to set all these people apart was relationship. What made Abraham different? He stepped up. He wanted relationship. David got chastised by Yahweh, the crazy, angry uncle God who everyone trembles over, got chastised for not talking
Yeah.
like you would a friend. Like, dude, man, where you been? Why'd you disconnect? Why aren't you talking to me? Like, that does feel pretty unique. I'm no authority on religion, but everything else comes from that relationship. Like, it shakes out that way. It puts relationship at the top, and everything else shakes out underneath of it. Seek ye first, the kingdom, right? I don't think that means swear fealty to establishing the tent pegs of the kingdom, to expansion. I think that might be a little colonialism twist in the understanding of what that means to seek the kingdom first. Sign here and put everything under fealty to this. No, it's like the kingdom is him.
Right.
Like that. Like it's him. Seek him. Seek relationship with him. Everything else shakes out of that.
Right. You don't stand it apart. Like, you can't take that passage, that quote from Yeshua, and say, we build the whole protocol on how we do this off of this, right? You
Yeah.
have to look at the whole picture. How did he communicate? How did he represent his own connection point? He used family language. He always used father.
Yeah.
Not always, but most of the time
Yeah.
when he was addressing
Or
his
mother.
connection, his father son connection, he always brought it back to this aspect, right?
Yeah.
So he's highlighting it's a relational connectivity.
That's what
Even
Yeshua modeled.
Solomon did that too when he's talking about wisdom. He put it in the context of relationship. Get wisdom, and putting a personifying wisdom in his language, in his poetry, for a purpose of relationship. If it was just an object, like some treasure, it wouldn't carry the same thing. You don't carry relational context when dealing with objects in nature the same
Yeah.
way. So you personify. We do this all the time. We personify things. Why? To have a relational connection with it.
Absolutely.
So it's
Oh,
built
I named
into
my
us
cars.
as it's built into our nature, designed to have a relationship. But we have been culturally trained, programmed, you might say, to use relationship to get what we really want. And then we carry that into our relationship with our creative father, the one who created us, right?
If we treat
And
each
then
other that way, we call each other
Right.
sociopaths, psychotics. We recognize that as aberrant behavior that is dangerous. Yeah, we treat God just like that. I do. I have.
So if that's the way you have a relationship with your creator, how much easier is it, or how simple is it just to translate it over to any other being? And if that being is quicker at getting what I want, then of course I'm going to connect to them because I'm getting what I want faster. Right? Oh, wisdom is over there. Understanding is over there. I can get greater secrets about the cosmos and understand how to unlock the cubes and the triangles and the circles and all the different things that are out there. It's easier because they're offering it up quick and up front. Who knows what the fine print is, but I'm getting it faster this way. And if you have relationship as a means to an end of the tangibles or the intangibles, then you're more susceptible. Whoever then shows up with the object of desire sooner is the one you're going to give your time to, if that's the direction and mindset you have. But if it's the reverse, if relationship is what you're after, then you start engaging with these beings, you realize, what do you got to offer? You got wisdom, okay, you got this key to unlock the secrets of the world. But beyond that, we have no connection. We have no long-term relationship. No, I'm looking for a relationship. Right. And that's, I think, at least that's the journey that I'm on. I'm discovering that it's not enough to just want wisdom and understanding in a revelation. It's not enough just to become an illuminated being and to live forever. Because it doesn't scratch the real heart. It doesn't meet the real pain point of my heart. Is I want connectivity with the one who created me. I want to build a relationship, eternal interaction with him, where I know him intimately. Like I know when he cries, I know when he laughs, I know when he feels, right? And that's the other issue I have is a hard time with, is this emotional being energy force out there, like that just it just created things, and I'm entangled with it, and that my highest frame of enlightenment is to be disassociated with emotional connectivity, and it's just energy. And I'm just going to go back into the great blob of energy.
Oh,
When I've
that sounds
obtained to
terrifying.
that, it's
It's like drowning in the cosmic soup. No thanks. I'll pass.
I, at least in my, and people could say, well, you're just not enlightened enough. Well, fine.
Maybe
I'm
not.
enlightened. I'm not. I
I'll give you
enjoy the
that.
fact that I can enjoy engaging in an emotional human experience with my creator, with the one who breathed me, the one who calls me son, one I call father. I'm gonna live with that, because that makes sense, makes things tick, makes things worth value, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I'm good with that.
And I have easy analogs right here. Anybody who's ever been in a healthy relationship with anyone else on the planet knows this on some level. I mean, like, maybe I'm making sweeping, bold statements, but it you can't quantify the value of relationship. Like it doesn't fit in a box. Like I'd sacrifice anything for it. You know, I love my daughter. I can't name one thing on the planet that I would say, yeah, I'll trade. No one experience. I'm not alone in this. I'd be like, yeah, what you did? What you traded an experience for a relationship, or you gave up a relationship for experience, for a tangible. In the Old Testament, that king that sacrificed his son to win the war. Like, what's wrong with that dude? That it's an understood evil. It's an understood negative. It's an understood bad trade. I don't know. Maybe this is just obvious, but it doesn't feel obvious. Not experientially. Not played out as it's played out over what we're seeing in human existence. It doesn't seem obvious. Yet
That
it's right there in
king,
front of our face.
that king, there most likely did not have a relationship with his child. And there again, when you have relationship and you experience relationship and what that builds and what that does and what that gives and how that loves, once you have that, there's not anything that will cause you to give that up. You do not want to give that up. There's this force that holds and binds that together that cannot be broken.
Exactly. And I think that's why it's easy to forsake Yahweh, because of a broken relationship,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like people that grew up in the church, believed the belief systems of that church, and then in their journey stepped away and says, I don't really believe that anymore.
Hmm.
You most likely can discover that in that process, there was never a strong attachment, a relational attachment to their father, to their creator. That
Yeah.
everything was lived vicariously through something else, and their only connection to that creator was through laws, religion, through programming, through whatever it was, a dysfunctional connection. And when that connection failed to meet the heart cry, then they severed connection. And
Yep.
in doing so, they severed connection with what they understood to be their creator. Right.
Severed it because of relationship, just a toxic.
Right.
Well, that's why so many people aren't able to stay, and they feel just condemned because I go to church, but I can't. I end up falling off the wagon. There's something there that doesn't draw me and hold me, maybe like it
Mhm.
does someone else. And a lot of people go and they'll go and become part of the works. I'll be a part of this team and that team. I'll volunteer here. We'll do this, we'll do that. And they become active, but then they get bored with that and they get really burnt out, so to speak. And then they fall off the wagon because there's no relationship with the one you're going there to worship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Why would you stay?
until you get that relationship, that's the one thing that maybe they're reading the word, but they're not experiencing the word. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to go and read through the Bible this year. So they're reading it as any normal book, but they're not experiencing the word within their own spirit.
Yeah. Having grown up in the church, I know that exact feeling.
Right. And me as
I
well.
mean, it's
Yep.
it was the mercy and the grace of my father to lead me into a place where I mean, even in my early adult years, I was still struggling. I knew relationship was the key, but I was still struggling with the new object. And it wasn't until we really stepped into the understanding of sonship in the past 5, 6 years, 7 years, that I really began to realize just how important relationship is to this thing functioning healthily in a healthy way. And this interaction, how he and I, you know, can do things together. And it had to be formulated and birthed out of just the desire of putting my face in his face day after day, just to see him, just to talk to him, with no ulterior motive, with no bucket list of things I need to do, with no
Guilt. No
3 week
guilt.
course, right? No 3 week program to become the better me. It's just you and me today. That's it. Sitting on the dock by the bay, casting line into the water. Who cares if we catch fish? We're just gonna hang out together. And it had to be day in, day out of this interaction to establish, to weed out the old stuff and realize, Eric, it's not performance, right? Like you say, it's not about
Yeah.
performance anymore. It's not about quantifying it by what we've accomplished today. It's simply and removing all that stuff out, removing those fetters of I need to know everything. I need to become the best me. It's not even about becoming the best me. Like I said before, before we started the call, I said, to Eric, it's very likened to what Christ was saying. Unless you hate your parents, you're not worthy of me. And
Yeah.
everybody goes, what do you mean? We have to be hateful of the ones we're supposed to love? And unless you know his heart, it would cause a lot of people to push to say, forget that, What he's saying, at least my understanding and revelation of isn't about hating your parents. it's taking what you love so much and realizing it's not the most valuable thing. What and people, objects, accomplishments, it's about the relationship. That in that relationship, when that becomes your primordial first reason to breathe every day, that interaction and just spending time, not for what you get out of it, but for what is in it and its inherent value of that relationship. Then you begin to understand the secret behind success, the secret to the wisdom and the revelation and all of this other stuff. And then on top of that, you realize not only do I have to hate my family, I actually now can love with the correct love. I have to let go of my earthly love concepts of my family to tap into the real love of this relationship of my creator. And then out of that real love, then I realized, oh, I've not really actually been loving my family. I've actually been hating my family. The love I called love was actually a hateful love, a lustful love, a self-driven love, self-focused desire for what I could get out of that love, that relationship.
Reciprocity.
And now it's completely changed to I love my family because I now love him. And unless you journey through that gateway, you can't really understand what that means. And so that's why he says you have to hate, you have to put off this love you have for your family. You have to disassociate from that completely. You have to break the old form of love, the earthly concepts, and disavow it, hate it so much, and turn it to my love for me. And in that will replace it with a above the sun love, a true love that then flows out of you naturally, that will then actually be a true love towards your family and to everything else. A healthy, correctly based love upon the relationship that you've established with me. That's difficult to know what to do, begin to actually cross into a threshold, right? And I think that's, even though I was just thinking about the rich young ruler, like his love for the object, the end of being valued, the love desire for not just wealth, but what wealth brings, the notoriety, the all the accomplishments, which in that culture, to have these things was the highest form of spiritualism, right? Of being spiritual. That you're wealthy, you are blessed. That means you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do before God, and he blesses you, right? So wealth was attributed to blessing of God. And so having all this wealth and value and good reputation was desirable in that culture because it puts you next to him, next to godliness. And so Yeshua was saying to disavow, disconnect from all that because it was the wrong road on which to walk, right? Disconnect and follow me, come into relationship with me, learn to hate that stuff so that you can come back through the gate of love and then recognize how to properly love in that context, in that stuff again. And the reason why Yeshua says, for everything you've given up for me, he's talking to his disciples, right? All your homes, your clothes, your family, everything you've given up to follow me, you're going to get all that back.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just casting off and despising and hating it. It was like disassociate, disconnect from that worldly understanding so that when you come into me, all that stuff restores and is actually in a healthy nature that won't be destructive for you. It won't be in conflict with me. And I think that's part of the immature child in the house of Yahweh is they build a relation, they start off with a relationship, but because of the immaturity, they start to seek after the things of the earth and this, again, that tug of war, because they haven't fully embraced the relationship and that gateway, haven't walked through it. So their tug of war is, I want to love and enter into you 100%, but I still have this desire for all these things, and I just can't get my fingers off it. I keep looking
Yeah.
back to it, you know. I still want that. I still want this. And it's not just physical stuff, right? Temporal things. It's enlightenment stuff.
Yeah.
It's the desire, like seek wisdom. We're supposed to seek wisdom, but it becomes our God. It can become our God. It can become our gain or aim. Well, you are the God of wisdom. I want to know you so I can get wisdom. You're the
Yeah.
God of revelation. I want to know you so I can be, enlightened. You're the God of eternal life. I want to know you so I can live forever. Doesn't sound bad, but on this side of the gate of love, it is actually a tug of war. It's akin to, you can't serve God and mammon at the same thing. You can't serve God and eternal life at the same time, because you're still trying to attain to it from this side of the relationship, from the temporal, the earth-based entrance. And so to disassociate and dissolve from all that stuff, to lean into the relationship so you can pass through the gateway, go above the sun, then you actually can then come back into those things, because you're doing it from the place of healthy connection. It took me a while to get to that place, understanding that. And there's certain things I still struggle with, I'm
Yeah, I'm
not
not saying I
completely
get it all.
disentangled. Yeah.
But I'm starting to understand, like the Psalm 73, whom have I in heaven but you, on earth? There's nothing I desire but you, my flesh, my heart,
Right.
my favorite,
Right.
but you're my portion forever. I didn't get that. Like it's definitely, especially from a shame and performance perspective. It's like, I'm a bad dude. Even if I don't do the things I've thought, the things I've thought condemn me. Even because half the stuff that I've thought is horrible, the only reason I haven't done them is I'm scared of the repercussions, or that I might not succeed. It really got in the way of understanding that. Like,
Yeah.
there's a two-way street there. Like, to say this sounds strange. Who have I in heaven but him? Who has he on earth but me? Ooh, that feels really funky. But he leaves the 99 to save the one.
Well, he's
His,
roaming the earth, right? It says he
right, he
searches to and
wants
fro.
relationship with me.
Yes. Yes.
Eric, this guy, all the junk. And I get that. Like, I get that on a level. I don't have words for this.
I like the
mentioned it
movie
before
Karate Kid,
Okay.
because you won't see this initially unless you start with this lens. In the movie, the original Karate Kid, as the 1980s. I'll have to pull
Yeah.
that up again, show the boys. They haven't seen it. But this old man, he's going to teach him karate. Like, this kid just thinks, I'm going to learn karate so I can beat up the bullies, right? And
Yep.
this whole time, this man, in his ways, is telling him to do to wash the car, all right, wax on, wax off, all these different things. And the kid's like, you just make me do all this work for you. I'm not learning a bit of karate. And he's totally off the wrong frame of mind, and his what's his name? I can't think of the name of the guy.
Miyagi.
Miyagi. There you go.
Yeah.
If you look at it, he's about relationship.
Yeah.
He's causing. He knows what he's doing. He's training this boy out in karate, but he's actually training him in relationship. He's building a relational connection with him, and finally the kid gets it, right? It realizes it's not even about the karate. It's not even about being a master of his own ship, right? And dealing with the bullies. It's the connectivity that he's having with this man, and the father that he doesn't have,
Yeah.
right? He's got a single mom, parenting him, and his connection with his dad is just thrashed. And so here's this old grandpa type that's coming and trying to build relationship with him through his own desire of becoming a karate master, right? And so I love it because, and here's the point. What I love is that Miyagi makes him do some really weird stuff. Doesn't get it,
Right.
but he's training him through the weird stuff. Like, doesn't make any sense why I should do this. This has no connection to it. And Father does that with us. He calls us into doing some stuff that doesn't make sense. It's not taking us to the end goal that we want right away. It's like, what does this have to do with me learning karate? What does that have to do with me becoming enlightened or gaining wisdom or seeking that thing out? And Father's like, you'll get it eventually. Just stick with me. And you find down at the end of the road, you get it, you learn karate, you get what you want, but you realize that really isn't valuable anymore.
Yeah.
Not really. What's now valuable is this relationship that I have. That's why he makes us do stupid stuff. It isn't because he's mean or cranky or wants us to build his house for him. Right? It's about relationship. He doesn't need us to build his house. He's just asking for us to build relationship with him. But in our framework and understanding, he's like, here's a hammer and nail. Now do it this way. Right? Here's some sandpaper, sand this way. But isn't it easier to sand this way? No, sand this way. Well, this is ridiculous. I don't want to build your house this way. And it's like, no, it's not even about building the house. It's about you spending time with me. And I'll train you how to do all this stuff. And I'll make you, and I'll give you eternal life. But eternal life isn't even the point of it. It's living eternally with him in relationship is the point of it. Once that kicked in for me, then everything, I took a big breath. I sat down, and all the striving to become something great and magnificent and eternal just fell off.
Yeah.
It
Pressure.
wasn't that I didn't want it, but it was like, I don't need to work for this. I don't need to strive for this. I don't need to do anything to learn the skills and the mysteries, the secrets to become all this stuff or to have all that stuff. I can just sit on the dock and fish with my dad, not worry about what we're doing, just engaging. And that changed everything. Then everything started changing too, because then it started unlocking. Wisdom came easier. Revelation came easier.
Peace.
Absolutely.
Contentment.
Absolutely.
Like I don't have the words to convey this, but like I'm seeing the stream of it, and it's making the parables make sense. You know, the why the guy would trade everything for the field, you know, the treasure. Why the wages don't matter. Why like all of it. Like it's
Right.
it's woven through everything. It
Yeah.
and our teachers, you know, the teachers I've latched onto. Ian, you know, like he has some crazy stuff that he's experienced, but in
Mhm.
the end, it's like relationship. It's all through relationship. Recognizing I'm a son and what that means in the context of relationship, and everything shakes out of that. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be work. You're gonna paint the fence. You're gonna wash the car. You're gonna build the house. but outside of relationship, that stuff does not matter, and it will be empty. It'll be empty without relationship,
Yeah.
and that's hard. That's a hard thing to protocol.
It is. Because it's hard to quantify.
It really resists organization. But I can see that in the analog of the relationships I have here on Earth. You know, I got in a fight with my daughter earlier in the week. It was nasty. It was bad. It was a bad fight on both sides. Like, it was not pretty. I wouldn't trade that. Right? Even bad relationships, if you want to say it that way. Like, not oh man. I don't know how to put the words on this. Like, I would that that didn't work out. If I'm eating a meal and I run into a roach in the middle of my burger, I'm done. I'm good. Like, nope, not worth it. That's a bad meal. Or anything else tangible. But relationships, like, no, man, I'm gonna lean into this. I,
Right.
yeah, it was a bad time. It was a snag, but right, but I wouldn't trade that. The value of that relationship, if anything, is increased in a weird way. Like, that doesn't line up with most anything I engage with in the natural. Like, sooner or later, that car is going to be more trouble than it's worth. That thing is going to be more trouble than it's worth. Relationships don't fit that. They're never more trouble than they're worth. And I know I can just feel it. Like, yeah, some toxic relationships are more trouble than they're worth. I get that. It doesn't
But
line
there's
up
something. Why do people go back to those toxic relationships?
Yeah.
There's a component in that relationship that answers the desire of the heart, and that's connectivity.
Yeah.
Even in the worst, most monster relationships, you talk about people going back to those relationships. Like, why the heck are you going back to that? It's just so destructive.
Yeah.
There's something in that connection that is desirable. It's meeting the need. However destructive the rest of that relationship is, it's enough for them to say that they love me. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's some part of acceptance, however broken, that causes them to go back to that, right? And you're like, that's devastating. But what it does is it sheds a light on the fact that every person, every member of this human species desires this connection. Even in the worst of situations, even the most broken, destructive relationships, there's still the desire. And when it's met in some regard, people still actually hold on to it. Right. And
Yeah, there's something they see of value.
yeah, in
It's
relationship.
worth it. Worth the risk. Worth the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yahweh even explains why bad relationships are good. Why people go back to these. There's an echo of the relationship that was broken in the garden. It's worth going back. Like, and he's never toxic. If I've got an idea that he's toxic, which a lot of face value Old Testament stories seem that way, then the story's wrong. The story's inaccurate. I don't understand something about it because it's worth it. The value of the relationship with him is worth it. So much so that there's been some pretty heavy outpouring of consequence to things that get in between that relationship. Like what the
Yeah.
Watchers did in Enoch. The Watchers took the natural order thing. Because maybe that's something, religions are when there's a head of the religion or there's a god, but maybe what was it not polytheism. What's there's God in everything. There's God in the rocks. No.
Universalism.
Yeah, I never the right word for it. I don't remember, but maybe there's something there. Like that's an analog because they're recognizing that there is God in everything. Like one of the reasons that I can engage in relationship with you guys, there's an element there where I'm looking into the eyes of my Father through you. The God in you speaks to the God in me.
Right.
And even that language was was a very negative language in the church. It's like, you're not God. He's God. Only he's God. Yeah, but we sing songs that he's in us. So I'm looking at whether you know it or not, to whatever level you've accepted the truth that you are a child of God is immaterial, is in you. And so that is a foundation for relationship with you that is not hinged on actions, on reciprocity, on deserving. Like it goes beyond that.
I'm sitting there thinking, I can't get this image on my head though. Someone sitting there with a rock, just trying to feel or sense God in the rock. And then there's Yahweh sitting there, their father saying, hey, I want to talk to you. And they're like, shut up, I'm trying to find God in the rock.
Right?
And that's,
Yeah.
I'm like,
It
this
might
is
get in the way.
this is simple. I don't have to worry about it hating me or anything like that, or this awkward relational dynamic here. It's just a rock, and I can find and fill you in there. It's just fine. If I get into this relationship stuff, that it's going to be all messed up, right?
Yeah.
So it's like finding God in creation is a lot easier. I mean, it's simpler, I guess, maybe for some, than having to deal with this relationship with a father, son, father, daughter, that familiar connection. Probably because, you probably look at their life and say, they come from dysfunction. They come from a poor connection,
Yep.
an anchor in the earth to say, well, if you're my father and I have a bad father relationship already, then, how's this going to go? Right. And so the rock ain't going to hate me.
Yeah.
I can be zen with the trees and the rocks and the rivers and the stars, but don't get in this human relational context, because I just can't.
Way messier.
I just can't.
Right. It's way messier. And it makes more sense. If the waterfall ain't kicking it for me today, I can go somewhere else. Relationship with people isn't that simple. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. It's less complicated. But just like when my house is empty, I feel what's missing more than I feel what's there. So in nature, if you stop there,
Right. If
it's an
yeah, a
empty
house without your kids is like the house is worthless. I mean,
It's an empty house. Yeah.
it's the
Without
container
relationship.
of relationship. But then when it's missing the relationship, you're like, well, what is this house next to another house? Like
Yeah.
the value of the house is the people in it. Really,
Yeah.
when you think about it.
Yep.
But the people aren't in it anymore. The value is just another container, it's just another object. And I can trade this
Sticks.
one for that one.
Yep.
Creation is like that house, right?
Yeah.
If there's no relationship with the one that created the family connection, then there's no point to it. I mean, I can just trade it up for something else. There's not the value. It's the relationship that makes the things valuable.
Yep.
It's why we can look at the sunset and say, man, it's so beautiful. It's because there's a connectivity to the relationship. There's a relational connection to the one who created it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part, is we enjoy the world around us because of the relationships that it is to facilitate. But apart, devoid of the relationships, those things they become gray. They become lesser of value, and in some cases, no value at all.
And it's religion that says that's too simple. Like religion says, oh no, you're missing something. It can't be that simple, and yet the depths can never be fully plumbed of that. Like it's bottomless because it's not quantifiable. It's not measurable. I don't know. I feel like I'm
Right. The only way we
bouncing
measure
around
it, right,
big,
is
really
the
big
outflow
ideas.
of it.
Yeah.
It's the invisible that we measure the energy pulses off of it and say, oh, it exists there, right? Absent the absent the radioactivity of its energy, we don't know that it exists. And I think that's relationship, is people know our relationship based on the outflow, the residency, the frequency that flows from that relationship. And that's how we measure health or not. An unhealthy or healthy relationship is the outflow of that interaction.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say, do I have a good relationship or not? Just by saying I'm connected with somebody. Oh, I know so and so. That doesn't mean anything to me. Now, if I see you hanging out with them all the time and having connections and there's healthy outflow, like, oh, they really know so and so, right? So that's the idea, is that our relationship with the Father isn't, say, like, even now we say, I believe in Yahweh. I'm a Christian. I'm this. I believe
Yeah.
in God.
Yep. I'm in this box.
That doesn't mean no. It's when you start to see the manifestation of the fruit of that relationship. You say, oh no, they really know, because they operate this way. This is the result of that relationship. The blessings are the outflow, right? And I think that's the measurable part of it. That's why it says you shall know them by their fruit, because it's the connection that produces these things. And that's why it says, they shall know you're my disciples by your love for one another. It's that connection, or it's the outflow of that connection, that then signifies the level of connection. And we get it backwards. They're like, we want to have these things, so we're going to connect to this thing to pump it out, to get, we're going to put into that relationship. We're going to invest in that relationship so we can get this fruit.
Reciprocity.
And he's saying, don't worry about the fruit. That just flows naturally. Just worry about the relationship. All these things will be added into you.
Yeah, don't sweat it. We're not saying this isn't complicated on many levels, though. Right?
Hey,
Abraham went to the top of a mountain and had to take his shoes off in front of a bush was burning. Like, okay.
Moses. Abraham
Moses,
excuse me. Goes,
yeah, sorry, Moses. Right? Like it gets. It does get complicated. This is. My Father is a being that all of creation resides in. This isn't going to happen overnight.
No. And it's not fair to Abraham or Moses to put into context in a single snapshot their relationship.
No.
Because we don't get to see the journey of the 40, 50, 60, 120 years that Moses has, the daily interaction in the tabernacle. We don't hear all the conversations. We don't discover through just a snapshot the deep, intimate relationship they have with one another. Or the same thing with Abraham. We don't hear the journey from Ur to Nineveh and then into the Canaan area. All we get is snapshots. And so we build this whole relational dynamic with our Creator based on these snapshots, and we think this is the way it's supposed to be. And we don't understand all of the minutia in between, all the House of Weather talks that goes on, the deep heartaches of today's sickness. I got a cold today. I don't feel like getting up and talking with you today. Those kind of emotions, those kind of interactions. We don't get to see that. And it's important to know that that's not necessarily now we're lacking anything. It should then say, but it exists. Therefore, I can have that. And I use these examples, these interactions, like, why did Abraham go up to the top of the mountain to sacrifice his son? Like, what kind of God would you be to do that?
Yeah.
Go talk to him. Go talk to him about it. Go find out what was really going on. Like, and find your own Mount Moriah experience. If you continue long enough with Father, you will have your own Mount Sinai and Mount Moriah mountaintop experiences. And you'll realize that people look at you strange with a third eye. And then you say, well, no, it wasn't like that. There was all this other conversation that went on in between that got me to that point where I decided personally to pack up my family, all of my things, and travel across the country to a land I didn't know with no certain end you know, and yet my relationship and the dialogue over the course of the years put me on that pathway. Abraham had the same, and we have to keep that in context as we're reading these stories to understand that there's so much relational undercurrent that went on between Moses and Yahweh, and Abraham and Yahweh, and David and Yahweh, that we don't get privy information to. You know, we don't see it,
Well,
but it was there, and it had huge implications upon why they did what they did, why we see what they do. That's the part that doesn't really get taught on the flannel board Sunday school church
Right.
church experience. All we just get to see is the great signs and wonders, these great feats of faith. We don't get to see the relationships that's going on that built up to that point or after that point. And that's what needs to be taught more than the great feats. You know,
Yeah, you can't contain him in the signposts. You can't divine the character of Yahweh just by examining the rocks on the River Jordan. They're signposts to something bigger. They're invitations to engage and develop. You know, we just need a Netflix miniseries on,
Yeah.
you know, the time David was chilling out with Yahweh in the pasture and playing music. That's what we need. 6 parts should do it, you know.
I want
Short.
people to watch it though. That's just boring.
Well, there's like lions and tigers and bears. You know, there's it
But
has
the
its,
days it's rainy and gloomy, I don't want to watch that.
yeah. What happened today?
What's
Well,
going on?
today David just didn't do anything. He just sat and was chill and played some music and cemented a relationship with his father in a way that defies explanation, cannot be contained in words, cannot be dissected, referenced, or communicated in any other way than seeking it for yourself.
Yeah.
It can't be protocoled. It can't be organized. It defies anything but grasping for it yourself. And it's working.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. We're already at the top of the hour.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, let's see. What is there's some comments right here. Imagine if they really played the music David was playing, The Cave, and all those watching their DNA change. Yeah. I want to hear that song.
Right?
Yeah. I'll buy that album. Can he post it on Spotify?
Yeah. Right. So good. Well, it's been a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
The love of the Father.
Yeah.
Solved everything.
Well,
Focus
solved
on
everything.
that
Told you.
more.
Told you
Turn
we did.
into that more.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well,
Until
until
next time.
next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Shalom, y'all.
And I think we'll be doing, unless we solve anything else, I think YouTube will be a new home for a while until we can, if we need to move somewhere else. I think possibly. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. If the Zuck figures it out, but for now we'll be hopping on